We are talking about a Hartford-based shoe company today. Josh Westbrook and Jeff Devereaux, thanks very much for being on. From the Brothers Crisp is the name of your company. Where did that come from? And we should say you're the founder and the shoemaker, and you're the business director.
Correct.
Correct? Yes. Okay, so where did this name come from?
The name comes from the patron saints of shoemaking.
I didn't know there was one.
Yes, there are two, and they were twin brothers, and their names were Crispin and Crispinian. So it's an Americanized version of trying to say who these brothers were. They martyred themselves and made shoes by night to support their mission. I kind of liked that story and ran with it.
And so the company's named it. Now, you went to shoemaking school in Oregon. You went to Trinity. You're from Massachusetts. You're from Connecticut. How did you guys hook up?
I think I'll take a stab at that. Yeah. I first met Josh at a market, actually. I saw him sort of selling his shoes at a market in Hartford. He was just sort of just getting going then, and I was fascinated, and I decided I wanted to try to help, and slowly but surely we kept linking up, and we made it happen.
Now, you're in an old warehouse in Hartford, making the shoes by hand.
Yes.
Where did this notion come from that you were going to make your living from making shoes?
You know, I've always been a curious person and a maker of some kind. Whatever I'm interested in, I want to get my hands dirty and see how it's done and know everything about it. And I've always loved shoes. So it was an idea that was on the back burner probably since I was a teenager. But meeting a couple friends that at Hartford Denim that make jeans for a living, seeing them really make it happen.
They're also based in Hartford.
Yeah, and just seeing them, you know, start from something and build a factory, I just became obsessed with the idea of, okay, I'm going to do this shoe thing.
All right, so you get World War II machines and some from the 60s and 70s. Where do you get machines like this to make shoes? And we're going to plop these up on the desk. So tell me where you got the machines.
It's funny. Well, there's some machines I get. I'll drive up to Maine to get or something like that because there's a guy that cleared out factories as they were shutting down, unfortunately, in the late 80s. But every once in a while, someone will pop out of the woodwork and say, hey, my grandfather was a cobbler. I've had this machine in my basement, you know, for 20 years, and my wife's telling me it's got to go. And they'll call me, and so it's amazing because New England's been a center of shoemaking in the past. So the stuff is out there. It's just hiding under cobwebs and stuff sometimes, and up to us to
So if somebody
find it.
hears this and they have stuff in the basement, you want it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start with, you have this company, the Brothers Crisp, and you make your first shoe, and what does it look like? Is it either one of these?
It looks quite a bit like that boot.
Okay, so this is made by hand. I can't, and it's heavy, and this would last 100 years. How does one make that? How long does it take you to make that?
Well, this boot at first took me about a full week. And they didn't look as good as that, obviously, at first.
It was trial and error?
Yes, but now it's probably about an 8 to 12-hour job to make a pair of boots like this.
Describe what is here and what do these cost?
Okay, this here is actually the boot from our first collection of our website launch. These are retailing for $525 on the website.
And that's a ton of money.
It is a good amount of money for the average person. Yeah.
But made by hand and will last
For a very long time.
50
Exactly.
years.
And for anyone that thinks I'm charging too much, I welcome them to make a pair themselves and then tell me how much they want.
And it's a fairly competitive price point, sort of within the American-made range of companies out there.
Now here's your business guy, so he
Yeah.
knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in business?
Since March of 2013.
So
How's
a
it
little under
going,
2 years.
business director? How's it going?
It's growing all the time. It's getting exciting, and there's some new stuff coming up that we're pretty excited about. But yeah, I must say it's going pretty well so far.
So you have mostly rugged shoes that you guys are making. And I said when you first walked in, are you going to do heels? And you said, well, I'm not sure we're going to do heels for women, but you do rugged stuff primarily. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We do like the thick stuff, the thick leather.
Yeah,
So.
we like tough shoes. You know, we think shoes should be tough. It doesn't mean they can't be fun and fashion forward. And that's kind of how we differ from a lot of the companies that are building tough U.S. made stuff. We still want to have fun. Yeah. We want to be funky.
We're never really going to be able to be a heritage company, so we're going to differentiate ourselves in ways that excite us.
Are you selling on your website already?
Yes.
Yes.
Where's the furthest place you've shipped one of these shoes or something in your collection?
Well, our best customer is actually in Singapore, of all places.
In Singapore.
Yeah.
Describe that customer.
He's a
doctor.
A doctor in Singapore.
He's a medical doctor, and he loves anything about the U.S., including movies that he quotes all the time. He's played basketball growing up.
He definitely loves our shoes.
And he loves the fashion. And he has ordered, I think, 5 or 6 pairs of our
How did
shoes
he
already.
find you guys?
Through Instagram.
Through Instagram.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's where all the kids are on
Yeah.
Instagram, and you
Yeah.
and you can sell there. Describe, Josh, this shoe. How does that differ from this guy here?
Well, this shoe is actually very simple. Not easy
Show
to
me
put
how
together.
simple that is.
It's very simple in the fact that 0 machines are involved in this specific shoe. So all this is 3 pieces of leather. You have your tongue, which is also called a plug in the moccasin construction here. You have a vamp, which comes all the way up to the ankles
Do
here.
you know all this? I mean, you're the business guy.
I'm
but-
learning a lot
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
but I do know these terms.
And then this is a second vamp, and in the moccasin world, they'd call this a double vamp, which means not only does in a moccasin the leather wraps under your foot all the way, in this shoe there's 2 layers that wrap under your foot, and this is all hand stitched. Every
So
single
this
stitch
is
on
you
this shoe.
painstakingly sewing this.
Yes,
Very
yeah.
much so.
Takes how long to make that?
About the same as the other ones. I would
Yeah. This is around, maybe 6 to 7 hours.
This particular
on a
one
good
is
day.
important to note was also hand dyed, so there's an extra step before it's actually done. So it was a kind of like a dinosaur green originally, but we have some leather inks that we're able to, or leather dyes that we're able to apply and get this kind of. We've gotten some reds, some yellows.
So
and
whatever you
blue.
get. I am guessing you guys are working 24/7, pretty hard getting this
Just about.
thing off the ground.
Just about.
Yeah, shoemaking isn't easy.
Describe to me, if somebody who doesn't know what being a cobbler is all about, how hard is this job?
It's actually, it can be extremely taxing physically, and it takes a while to get good at it. But when you like what you do, you keep doing it. And even more so when you see results, it just wants to make you keep going. So there are some days when I go home and I am exhausted. I have dust all over me, rubber cement all over me, leather scraps all over me. My hands hurt. But I wake up every morning and I can't wait to go back to work.
Works his hands pretty hard. So.
Yeah. Some days I get home at 8 o'clock, and then by 10 I wish I was back at the shop because I have an idea.
Are there other cobblers in the state or in the country that you can talk to about this craft? Because
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a dying art, or is there a
Yes and no.
resurgence?
Yes and no, I would say.
There's a bit of a resurgence, and there's a resurgence in general in the craft industry. But shoemaking is one of the harder things to get into. It takes more patience, more time to learn, and
a little more complicated.
more equipment to pull it off. With that said, though, there's quite a few people that are getting their hands dirty and getting started at it, and it's a small community, so we do talk. But as far as a dying art, it's never dead. It just moves around. So but it's just a natural reaction to people buying a lot of products that weren't made by hand or by someone they know, and I think it's just a small backlash to that, and people want to say, wait, where does my stuff come from? How do you make it? So we're just a part of that, and hopefully a little ahead of the curve.
All right, so you haven't been in business that long. Where's the Brothers Crisp going? Where are you going to be in 5 years, do you think?
I think
Do you
it's-
have a business plan? Is there one?
We do have a business plan. I don't think it's 5 years out yet. I think we've done 3 years so far.
Okay, so where are you in 3 years?
Well, hard to say because we're doing some unique things that we'll see if they happen or if they don't happen. So it might be totally someplace different, but we could be in a place where we're in a lot of local boutiques. Maybe at like the very high end, we'd be in like bigger department stores, nicer department stores and stuff like that. And selling a lot online because that's slowly business is moving to being online only. It's going to take some time, and it seems like a lot of businesses have learned that it's not the best way to move forward. But
Along with the shoes, you made this, and I can barely handle this? I mean, this is heavy.
Yes.
Explain this to me. And are you going to get into the luggage business as
You
well?
know, that's a bit of a statement piece. So totally
What
impractical.
does this weigh? What does this weigh?
You know what? We've been wondering. I have yet to weigh it.
20 pounds?
We're
Sometimes
guessing
we
at
call it the
least
20-pound bag or the
We've been
30-pound
guessing
bag.
At least 20.
And Josh, you made this.
Yes, I made that, and that bag is 100% hand sewn.
Much like this shoe.
So it was one of those things where, you know, normally you never put something like this into production. Every once in a while, a crazy idea crawls in my head. and
Was this
I
a
have-
crazy idea?
Yes, it was.
And it carried your shoes into the studio, so that
yeah.
was good.
So I had to execute it. So it's took way too long to make that bag to sell it
It's beautiful.
for a normal
It is-
market price.
It's
But
beautiful.
it was fun, and it was one of those things that I wanted to see if I can take my shoemaking techniques and apply it, you know, to a piece of luggage.
Which is how a business grows.
Sure.
Jeff, you mentioned a little bit ago you've got a 3-year plan. Are there any kind of secrets you can kind of give me as to where you might go, some things you're going to try, like maybe luggage, like maybe more women's shoes than men's shoes?
I think we'll definitely stick in footwear. We may try to do some more things with women's shoes, but we're also excited about seeing if we can, you know, use technology to do different things to possibly make, you know, custom footwear more widely available and stuff like that. But,
So are you thinking mass production at some point?
I don't know if we're thinking mass production at some point. I think we'll try to stay as a craft, you know, driven by craftsmen, but just sort of applying some, you know, more modern technologies to some parts of the work here that would maybe streamline things a little differently, but still keep it, you know, very well made. It's sort of important to Josh and myself, and sort of what we're trying to do.
You went to Trinity. In your wildest imagination, were you going to end up in shoes?
Maybe. I similar to Josh, I was always really into shoes and into footwear. My dad would probably complain about that, but I don't know.
Is there a history in either of your families of being cobblers or shoemakers?
No.
My dad worked for Stride right out of college, I believe.
All
so
right. So
he
there you go with
wasn't. He
shoes.
was doing computer stuff back then, but it wasn't shoes. But I don't know if I have any shoemakers in the direct family. Yeah.
So the best thing about your relationship here, and there's a couple other folks that work with you too that are building this company. Best thing about what you guys have put together?
I mean, I get excited all the time just seeing the shoes get made, and we make a lot of really creative stuff. We have a new collection coming out tomorrow. We're really excited about
Which
it.
is?
It's a little bit like this, but it's got, you know, it's a little winterized, so we have shearling in them. We have sort of a classic house slipper, and then a chukka with a boot sole on it, so you can take off your home slipper and put on your outdoor slipper version, essentially.
I love that.
So we're pretty excited
Yeah,
about that.
they're both shearling lined and warm for the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody helping you sew, or you're the sole sewer?
No, we do have help. We've had one guy in particular really excel in the hand sewing, and then we've
He's
had,
got to pass muster with you first, though.
Yeah, exactly. But he actually got better than me, so that's when I knew. Okay, all right. You know, it didn't take him as long to figure it out as it did for me. So I said, well, you have a knack for this, clearly.
What do you
and then
guys
there's
need?
other-
What do you guys need going forward to grow this business?
Well, funny you ask. We need more shoemakers. And the problem with that is, if we put an ad in the paper or Craigslist saying, looking for shoemakers, we're not going to get any answers. So you have to help create shoemakers by finding people with a curiosity, and then letting them make shoes, and then seeing what it is that they're particularly good at, and letting them run with it.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the game. So it's the challenge is, you know, getting people that are as serious about it as you and willing to stick it out. But we found quite a few so far, and you know.
Well, that's great, and
they're
I'll help you
helping
put the
out.
word out too.
Much appreciated.
All right, Josh Westbrook, and Jeff Devereaux, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Brothers Crisp, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Made a trivial pursuits when one this in. Who's this girl I spend all night kissing? And if one was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of a mind. Just to save time, skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know, that you need me.